Aloha mai kako students. So we are going to move into the last two CSS custom challenges, and that's tasks number 2 and 3. So we're gonna tackle this one first, which is highlighted in blue. So we're gonna set the H1 headings to Google Font Roboto. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to add the Google font. So we actually have to add it to our HTML document. And then we have to set the font family in our style.css file. Let's go ahead and get started. So you might be asking yourself, right? Like, how do I add a Google font, right? So all those wonderful Google fonts that we use when we create our Google documents, we actually have to basically import that Google font into our HTML documents so that we can use it. And a really quick way to do this is to just Google CSS, Google fonts. That's what I did, and I use W3 Schools a lot. And this is actually the example that they provide. So I was like, hey, let's go ahead and utilize that. So here is the link to the Google font, to the Roboto Google font. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. So there's a style sheet, right, associated. Google creates a style sheet for each of their fonts. So let's copy that. Let's go to our Riplet project. And we're going to paste that right above the closing head tag in our HTML document. So I've pasted it right here. So now that I actually have the Google font in my index.html file, now that it's linked, I can actually apply this font in my CSS. So I can actually apply it to the H1 in this case. So we're going to head over to the style.css file. And right here, we're going to go font family. And we are going to apply Roboto. And don't forget to have that semicolon at the end. We're going to run our code. And as you can see, it's applied the Roboto font to our heading. So let's move on to the next challenge. Okay, let's move on to the last custom CSS challenge, which is task 3. We're going to add an H3 underneath each H1 heading, and we're going to apply the following properties to our H3. We're going to center align that heading. So we're going to center align H3. We're going to set the font size to 24, and we're going to set the background color to light green. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's head over to our Riplet file, and let's go ahead and we're going to apply that to the H3 tag. And so we're going to center a line, so I'm just going to copy that. We're going to set the font size to 24 pixels. And the last thing we want to do is set that background color. Oopsie. To light green. And once again, don't forget those semicolons there. So if your project isn't running in the preview, you might want to check to make sure that you have all your semicolons in your CSS file. So now we've created the we've set the properties for the H3 tag. Now let's go ahead and add the code that we want to, or add the HTML to our body. So we're going to go H3 completed lesson 2. And I'm going to copy that and I'm going to move that right underneath the other heading tag. And I completed all the CSS challenges. And we're going to run that and see what happens. And you can see that the properties have been applied to the H3 tag. And that concludes Introduction to CSS. Please feel free to reach out to me over email if you need more CSS practice. Meet with me online. Aloha.